Today we're going to be jumping into some little details of party planning that can just be really fun to make and feel extra fancy for your guests. Have you seen these little wax seals? They look like this. You can get them in lots of different decorations, and it's basically like, think of like the old way of sealing a letter, where the sealing wax is melted onto the fold of a letter and then stamped with, someone's initial or their family crest or something like that. Well, I'm going to show you how to use it on an invitation. I'll show you 3 other ways that you can incorporate these cool little wax stamps into your table decor. I'm sure that the ideas will just start rolling of how else you can use these for other situations, other parties. I'm going to show you everything that I'm using, and you'll be able to pick and choose the things that you want to use depending on what you want to make and how you want to make it. So let's jump in. On my table here, I have some plain white cardstock and some vellum. I have a double envelope where one will fit inside the other. I have some craft paper, and then these are some different colors of wax beads. You can get them in lots of different colors. Sometimes they'll come in a little jar, sometimes a little bag, sometimes they're shimmery, sometimes they're solid. I have matches to light my candle. And then this is what the metal stamp ends look like. 2 very common sizes are 1 inch and 1.25 inches. And then they're interchangeable with the handles. So if you want to have a lot of stamp options, but you just want to have 1 or 2 handles, that's fine. You can buy the stamps often without the handle. Okay, and then this is our little melting pot that we'll use to melt the wax beads. Remember that the metal parts are going to be really hot. Be careful with them. This is a gold paint pen. You can use it to accent the design of the stamp. And Sharpie markers work for this step also. Here I've got some dried pressed flowers. I've got a pair of scissors. I've got a few different types of ribbon and string. Here, these are little clear acetate favor boxes. This is a little silicone mat with circle molds, so you can stamp right into those if you want. I also have just a plain flat silicone mat. Here I have a bowl with just a little bit of cold water in it and a washcloth sitting in it. That will help cool off the stamps because they get warm when you press it into the wax, and then you can do the next one sooner if you cool off the metal. I have some toothpicks for mixing. I have a regular glue gun, and then these are wax glue gun sticks. So it's the same material as the wax, but it'll fit in a glue gun, and it's just a different way to melt and apply the wax to different surfaces. Off camera, I also have a roll of paper towels, a trash can, and a larger bowl of water just in case something catches on fire from my little candle. So I'm going to start with the glue gun option. This is the easiest and less messy way to do these wax seals. So you see this just fits in a regular glue gun, and after heating up for a while, you pull the trigger and it melts out the end. So here I'm going to use a little flower design on my stamp. This is going to seal my envelope. And you can see I've just got the tip of the glue gun just maybe 1/2 inch above the surface. And as I hold that trigger, the melted wax drizzles out. And then this particular wax stick says to tap on the wet washcloth before stamping. I haven't noticed that this makes a difference really, but just be mindful that some will say that. And then after that has cooled, you peel off the stamp, and look, there's our design pressed into the wax, and the envelope is sealed. Then to really bring out the design, I'm using this paint pen to just lightly brush over the raised design. I'm kind of holding it at an angle so it's more like the side of this paint tip is applying that metallic gold layer. On a different practice one that I did, I found if I held it up and down, then some of the paint would actually start to drip out and then would get into like the lower part of the design, and that wasn't what I wanted. I just want to color the raised part. This is definitely a fun step. It really adds another layer of fanciness and you really show off the design that you've got there. Another way you can do this is just add a little puddle right to the silicone mat, stamp it on there, and then you can apply with some hot glue to some other surface. And then this is just to show you that same design, but with a silver paint pen instead, just to see the different look that it gives it. All right, so then you can make your own envelopes that would fit inside of each other, or you can buy envelope sets that are meant to have an inner and outer envelope. People have had good success with sending these through the mail. I've done it just once, but it did pop off and didn't reach the final destination. I would definitely suggest putting it in an outer envelope to make sure that the seal doesn't get popped off in machinery. A couple of notes about the wax glue gun method before I move on. It's really convenient and you don't have to worry about an open flame, but there are a couple of drawbacks. One is that you can't easily change colors. I have a whole stick of melted black sealing wax in here, and it's going to take a while to push that out for a new color. Also, you can't really go back and use it as a glue gun again. You would need a separate one just for your wax. And finally, if you leave this glue gun on for a long time while you're not using it, the wax stick can melt and kind of seep into other parts of the glue gun. So those are all things to keep in mind. While it is super easy to use, I do like the flexibility of the little melting pot. So just make sure you consider all those things when you decide what method you're going to use. All right, for our other wax stamps, we're going to use the wax beads. And so I've got my candle here that I've lit up. This is kind of my makeshift stand. I just stacked up a couple of these ribbons to the right height so it would hold it there. There are some kits that will come with a better holder for your little melting pot. I just didn't happen to buy that in my kit, and so I have to do it this way. Make sure that if you're messing with it at all, you keep a hand on the handle to keep it balanced. Okay, so for the menu, I printed out the menu on a piece of vellum. Now, be very careful with where you have your candle and where you're putting your paper because the stuff, of course, is flammable. All right, so I have my vellum cut wider and shorter than my background cardstock piece. I just thought that looked kind of cool. I'm going to cut about 3.5 inches of black ribbon. And while I'm working on the ribbon part, my wax is just going to be melting in the background. And unfortunately, it does take a little while to melt the wax, at least a couple of minutes. This is sped up. And you can take that toothpick and stir things around so the heat gets distributed, and you can tell if you have any unmelted beads still in that mix. All right, so I'm going to put a little drop of hot glue kind of in the center here of this ribbon, and then fold it over at a little bit of an angle, just so we get this little V shape of ribbon. And then I'm going to pass the ends over the flame just to get rid of those little frayed bits. So make sure you're careful if you do this step. So now I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue and attach this to the top of the vellum piece. And then when that is set, I'm going to position it where I want it to be on the cardstock and then mark where I want a little dot of glue. I found that doing it this way made sure that everything stayed in the right place as I was putting down the wax seal so that nothing would shift in my design. So when that wax is melted, you're going to just start pouring it down on the fold of the ribbon. And you'll notice that as you're pouring wax down on an uneven surface, like if you're pouring it down over ribbon or string or multiple layers of paper, it's not going to flow out in a perfect circle. But I think that actually makes it look a little more cool and more custom or authentic. So you just gently set that seal there in the middle, and then you can check and see if it's still warm, then you want to wait. Once it's cooled off, then you can lift it up and that metal will just lift right off of that wax seal with no problem. All right, so there is our fancy menu. All right, so if you're using the same color again, then you just keep adding more wax beads to your little melter. Once you're ready to switch colors, then you need to melt out what's in there and then use a paper towel carefully to wipe out what's inside. Remember, everything that's metal here is going to be hot. So just keep melting and wiping out with a paper towel until that little melting pot is clean, and then we can add in the next color of wax beads. I also like to rub some of the soot off of the back to just keep my workspace a little bit cleaner. Okay, so here is a little acetate favor box. And each of these boxes come with a really thin protective film. So you'll want to peel that off before you start assembling the box. It's basically just like a really thin plastic wrap to make sure that there's no scratches on the surface of your box while it's packaged and shipped. So that should all come off in one piece, and then you can just discard that. And then we're going to fold up the box. So we'll start with just kind of creasing the sides, fold in the bottom flaps, and then it has this little tab to keep it closed also. So as I was making this box, I honestly couldn't really tell which side was supposed to be the top or the bottom. One side has just that kind of regular lid look, and then another side has this kind of funky tab where it still has these two sides. So I guess you can kind of decide which one you want to be the top and which one you want to be the bottom. We're going to take a piece of ribbon and just wrap it around so that it overlaps a little bit. All right, where it overlaps is going to be the back side, so just give it a little drop of hot glue and carefully hold it until it sets. All right, so now I'm going to flip it over so that I'm putting the wax seal right on this part. I am melting up 4 wax beads. I'm going to use a dried flower and the plain circle stamp. So when that white wax is melted, just pour it into the middle of the ribbon. And it's going to come out in a funny shape again, because I said it's not a completely flat and level surface, and the acetate box has a little bit of give to it. So once you pour on the wax, you're going to put a single dried flower in the center, and then you want to grab something that you can stick up inside the box to give it a little more support. So you can press from the inside of the box while you're also pressing down with the stamp. Then your decorated box is ready to fill up with whatever little favors you want to put in. I chose these Lindor truffles. First of all, they're delicious, and the color matched really well with the decoration of my box. It shows off that white wax seal really well. All right, so that would be really cute to send home with everybody after your dinner party. All right, so the last seal that I'm going to make is for a napkin holder. You can see here I'm using these blue wax beads. It doesn't really match the color scheme of everything else we've made so far, but I did want to show you that there are lots of really pretty color options out there. You can match pretty much anything that you want to. And I'm going to be using this round mold silicone mat to do these stamps. And then I'm going to hot glue the stamp to the curved surface of the napkin holder. And then I'm using the stamp that has the letter S on it. You can buy whole stamp sets that contain the whole alphabet. So this could be really fun to give everybody their own napkin ring with their own initial on it. So I melted 5 wax beads, and when that was completely melted, I just poured it out into the center of the little circle mold here. Okay, so once that's done, you take off the stamp and just pop it out of the mold. And then this is fine, but I wasn't real happy with how it kind of had those jaggedy edges. So I actually broke it up into pieces and added one more bead and then melted it all back down again. So now with a little more wax in there, it should go all the way to the edges of the stamp and the mold. And again, that's just kind of personal preference. If you want something that looks like it's a little more neat and even, or if you want something that's a little more organic looking, you can experiment with that on your own. Okay, so now we have all the edges of the design and it made a circle, so I like that. So I'm breaking up my Cricut for just one short part here. I'm using some craft paper and I'm just cutting out a little scalloped napkin ring. You can get this SVG with the class, and you can use any Cricut machine to cut this out. We're just going to use a glue gun to roll it up into a ring. And then I'm going to crisscross this gold thread around it and just secure that with some hot glue. I'll put some hot glue right where that string crosses over and press down lightly with the wax seal. The hot glue is not going to melt the wax, and you just want to press it down lightly so you don't make any creases in your paper napkin ring. Okay, and then just for fun, I thought I would show you this kind of failed experiment way of melting the wax. I have this little heat gun, and I tried putting some wax beads down in there, and the airflow was making them jump around. It took a long time to melt. I finally kind of got it spread out, and then I did this stamp. So the whole thing is a little lumpy, the edges are a little lumpy, but I did want to show you, this is my logo, my little umbrella and flowers that I had custom made on Etsy into a wax seal stamp like this, and look at all that amazing detail. All right, and then again, just another option here, you can use the glue gun also into the circle mold. This one I added a little flower onto the black. And what I noticed here is that everything was so much a perfect circle. It almost looks like a little button when you pop it out of there. So again, if that's the look that you like, then go ahead and do it. If you want something where the edges are a little more uneven, then maybe just do it on the flat silicone mat instead. There is another option for this sealing wax that I didn't use. There are these sticks that have a wick running down the center, and so you light the wick and then that melts off the end of the stick here, and you let that drop onto your surface and then stamp it. I decided that I didn't want to have to keep relighting the end to do new seals, but if you wanted to do that, that's fine. And then you could just keep a candle lit like I have here and relight the wick each time that you're doing a new stamp. Once you get the hang of how everything works, go ahead and start experimenting with mixing different colors of wax, but maybe not 5 colors mixed together. And then this here, I brushed some Color Shift mica powder over the designs after they were stamped. And then I also tried one with some alcohol ink, but I did not care for how this turned out. So just play around with what you've already got in your craft room. So here's everything we made today: our stamped menu, a little favor box, personalized napkin ring, and an envelope seal. All right, I hope you had fun watching all of those different methods and applications for using wax stamps. If you had a favorite project, then I would love to hear it. I think I'm kind of partial to the menu option just because it's so simple and so glam at the same time. The runner-up would be these treat boxes. Again, you can decorate them in any color, fill them with any kind of treat. Make sure you go grab the freebie through the link in the description. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you let me know, and I will see you around the internet. Bye.